What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is a little different and weird, but it's more comfortable this way because I have something to lean up against. So I shall be doing my reviews from here. This is Jessica Jones, episode 2, and it's still explaining stuff, so the action still isn't quite there yet. Obviously, the action may not reach Daredevil heights, which, it's a different show. Daredevil he's a ninja, whereas she is more of just a super strong badass. So, I guess my expectations from Daredevil were just intense action, all that stuff. But that's not all of what Jessica Jones is. So, it does make sense that things are taking a while to build. But there's a lot of stuff that we find out in this episode, a lot of interesting stuff. First of all, we get our first glimpse of Kilgrave. Still don't see his face. I'm interested to see, why they're hiding it. In some cases, shows have hidden faces before of villains if there's somebody we know, but obviously it's not going to be like, oh, it's that guy, because we already know who he is. So sometimes they hide it because their face is disfigured or it's horrifying to look at, and then sometimes it's just intimidating. The one that reminds me the most of that is the Fire Lord from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They hid him for the first 2 seasons, and you finally saw him. He wasn't horrifying. He wasn't monstrous. He looked normal, but he had a very intimidating stare. He was intimidating to look at. But he didn't seem like a monster. He seemed just like an intimidating man. So, same thing here. I'm wondering if maybe he's just intimidating, and so that's why they're not showing his face. They're only showing him from behind. Cause I don't think he's horribly disfigured or anything like that, or else he would stand out in the crowd. But we get a first glimpse of him. He walks into this house, or into this apartment. He knocks on the door, and the guy answers. He said, "You want to invite me in?" Like, of course. And he lets him in. The wife's like, "Honey, who's this?" He's like, "I'll be staying here indefinitely. You'll be delighted." She's like, "Of course." He stomps the kid's car. He's playing with like one of the little remote cars. He's like, "Hey, that was mine." Like, children should not be seen. Should also not be heard. Go get in the closet. She's like, "What?" And then his sister, he says, "Get in the closet, you too." She's like, "I have to pee." "Go pee in the closet." I'm like, oh my god. Like, this is nuts. This is kids we're talking about. And sure enough, they both go in the closet willingly because it's his superpower. And he like closes the door. The mother's like, "What are you doing?" And you just see like this little puddle come out from the. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is some next level stuff. Like, this is crazy thinking about these poor kids. And just he's got complete control over the family, and that's scary to think about. Just everything he can do now, just by talking to them. So really freaked me out. You find out a bit of what happened, because in the first episode they were talking about, I thought he was dead. Why isn't he dead? Well, kind of find out that Jessica thought he had died because they do a little flashback. She had somehow walked away from him and was resisting him. I'm not sure how. Maybe they'll touch on that later. But he's like calling to her, "Jessica, come back!" and walking across the street, and then a bus like comes, flips, and hits him. And instead of checking to make sure he's dead, she just walks away. And so this is her figuring out what happened after the fact. She gets in contact, or she goes to the hospital, finds out who's involved, finds like one of the women that was brought in that night, finds the number of the ambulance, and then finds the guy who actually got laid off because he took an ambulance and disappeared for 3 weeks. And when Jessica finds this guy, his mom is outside, so she talks to her for a second, tells her that she can help her son prove that he was innocent in this ambulance stealing case. And then they go inside, and the son is like hooked up to a machine. He can't talk. And the mother's like one of those. It's it's a little bit frustrating to see these. They always do like if they're gonna do a stereotype of a Christian, this is the type you'll see. The person that's like every little thing is, oh, God bless him, and oh, it was all by God's grace, and oh, God, he works miracles, even in like horrible circumstances. Her son was gone for 3 weeks and comes back missing both of his kidneys. She's like, well, God works in mysterious ways, doesn't? I'm like, come on now, like, I'm a Christian too, but even I wouldn't go as far to say, oh yeah, it was all God. He's the reason that my son disappeared and came back with no kidneys. That's crazy, and I hate it when they go crazy Christian, just because not every Christian out there is like that, and that's generally the type of Christian that shows up in shows and movies. But anyway, so he's missing both of his kidneys, and he's hooked up to a monitor that's keeping him alive, and so the mother, like, Jessica convinces her to go get her a glass of water while she talks to the son. She gets the number of the dialysis machine that he's hooked up to, and she's talking to the son, saying, God didn't do this, the devil did, and I'm gonna find him and stop him. And the son, like, asks for a piece of paper and a pen and starts writing, and K-I-L. She's like, yes, Kilgrave, do you know where he is? And then me. And it just, I already, in the first episode, there was already the Hope girl, and you saw her more in this episode. She's, in prison now for shooting her parents, and Jessica's trying to help her out by finding these people that Kilgrave has affected, so that they can take this case to court and say, look, there actually is a guy out there with mind-controlling powers. So I already saw the effect on her a little bit last episode and what he did to her, and how crazy. But just seeing this guy, it really. This was before the scene with the family, with the kids and him just controlling his family, and so this was just the after effect. And this guy is so distraught and so upset about everything that happened, and what happened to him. He wanted to die, and that's the effect that Kilgrave has on people. And you can see why Jessica is so just. She wants to find him. She has to find him. There's no other option. She has to find him because this is what he does. He destroys people and their lives. And ultimately, she does find somebody. He was a surgeon. He's the one that transplanted the kidneys to him. And based off of that, one, she's got a witness now that can testify that Kilgrave does exist and that he does have mind-controlling powers. But two, he also tells her that during the operation, first of all, you get a bit of interesting information that he could have survived with one kidney, but he decided to take two, which shows how ruthless he is. But he says that he did it all, like the whole surgery, he was wide awake. All he needed was an epidural. He didn't want to be put under. And Jessica realizes that's his weakness. He can sleep, but if he's medically unconscious, he can't control people. That is his weakness. Of course, then again, it's like, how would you get close enough to inject him? I'm interested to see how you're going to use this information. But anyway, it's all of this stuff is just, it's setting up for later. And second episode in, we've already figured out the guy's weakness. It's just, how are you going to use it? As soon as you get close to him, all he's got to do is just speak and say, don't come any closer, and you're done. Like, you can't win. I feel like the best thing to do is just sniper rifle, but that's just me. that's something I forgot to mention in the first review. I don't know where her morals lie, and that in itself is room for something, because we've seen her do some bad things. Clearly not. She's clearly not like a true out and out hero, but she's not like an anti-hero either. She is a good person. She seems like she has morals, um, but she is also a thief who does whatever she wants to kind of get her way. Like, break into places and pretend to be people. But I don't know where her moral is on killing. Because we saw in Daredevil, he was completely against killing, so whenever he faced the Kingpin, it's like, how is he going to stop him if he's not going to kill him? Because it felt like that was the only way to stop Kingpin, was to kill him. And same with Jessica Jones. It feels like the best way to stop Kilgrave, just kill him, put him in the grave. You see what I'm alone. Anyway, it feels like that's the best way to do it. Just be done with it. But I don't know where she stands as far as killing goes. So I don't know if that's going to become an issue later, if she's going to have the chance to take him out from afar. She, not under his mind control. I don't know how that's going to go. So it's going to be interesting to see. So that was Kilgrave and Jessica. The third big thing about this episode was Luke Cage. I said it might be Luke Cage in the first one, and I was right. I don't feel good about that. I don't feel smart about that because I think it's pretty obvious. If it wasn't that obvious and I am smart, let me know, because I feel like that was just easy. Anyway, but you get your first view of Luke Cage. The woman that he was sleeping with turns out to be married. And Jessica says that the husband hired her, so he confronts the woman about it. She goes home, finds out the husband didn't know, confronts Jessica about it, thinks that Jessica just wants them all to herself. And the husband gathers a group of his buddies, and they're in a rugby team, which is rugby. They have rugby now in New York. I didn't know that. And if you happen to live in New York and you know there's a rugby team there, let me know, because that's pretty cool. Rugby's not as popular as it should be. I think it's like football, but better. It's more intense. It's a little bit more chaotic, and I like the chaos. Anyway, but they're going to take out Luke, and she goes to the bar to help him. And of course, because it's Luke Cage, he doesn't need any help. But it's the first scene we get with him, and it was awesome. It's everything I want Luke Cage to be. They're sitting there fighting, and the guys are like punching him, and he just like he doesn't even move. He just like gets hit, and then a guy comes up with a bottle behind him. Just he did not move, and that's what I want Luke Cage to be. I want him to be just completely indestructible. Like somebody hits him in the face, and the fist just like cracks because they can't hit him. But it was so awesome. He just stood there, and he was just like I pictured Luke Cage, completely calm about it. The guys are like coming to get him. He's just like standing there like this. He almost had like a what's it called? Not even a smirk. It's more like a just, really? Are you serious? You really want to do this right now? And so the guy like is coming at him, like, and just like throws him away. Like he just seems so like he seemed frustrated that he was having to fight it all. But Jessica goes down to help him and reveals her powers. And so at the very end, they do have a moment where he gets into her little office and confronts her about her powers and kind of shows off his. Really nice scene. He like pulls out this one of those buzz saws and just like holds it up to his stomach, and the saw just like grinds to little iron dust. And it was awesome. But that's kind of where it ends. So they've got a bunch of different stories set up. She's still talking to her lawyer friend. who is now taking Hope's case because she has the doctor to prove there's a mind reader, or mind controller. I don't know why I want to say reader so much. Trish, turns out best friend, not girlfriend, was wondering where that was. They seem like they were a bit more intimate than friends, but anyway. And you see that there's a lot of animosity there. I'm not sure what it comes from. Maybe they'll talk about it. But there is a lot of animosity there. Trish is trying to help her, trying to get somebody to fix her door. She ends up beating the guy down with the door. She buys her a new sign for her office, and she calls back and says, "This isn't right. The font's not right." Two interesting things though happen at the end whenever they make that call. One, they kind of reconcile. One, during the call, she like pours some water, and when she does, her nose starts bleeding. While she's talking to Jessica, I don't know why. I'm not sure if she got injured and that's why she's bleeding. I don't know what's going on there. If Trish maybe has superpowers of her own and nosebleeds one of the side effects, maybe. And then after she hangs up the phone, she says she's doing yoga. She goes down. There's a guy down there, and she's training to fight. The guy holds up a gun, and she is practicing her disarming techniques. And so you see that Jessica this whole time has been thinking she's protecting her by not talking to her, because one, that means Kilgrave will maybe stay away from her, but also it lets Jessica not be distracted by that. But it kind of shows that she's trying to learn how to take care of herself. She's trying to learn how to protect herself. So interesting to see where that will go. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I guess one more thing that I don't know where this is going. It feels like it's just kind of there to show that bad stuff happens, like they said in the first episode. But the lawyer, Hogarth, I think is her last name. Hogarth. I think that's right. I'm going to come back on the next review and I'm going to be like, it is Hogarth, because I'm terrible at names. I want to get one right. But her assistant is interrupting one of Jessica and her meetings and says, "Your wife is calling. She knows." So I don't understand what this is all about. I don't even know if it's going to tie into the main plot at all. I just feel like it's something to be like, look, this is how messed up New York is. People cheat on each other all the time, and people find out, and relationships end. So I don't know if that's the point. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a part of this. It's what happens in Jessica Jones's world. People have affairs, and people break up, and people divorce, blah blah blah. But the internet here sucks. So yeah, I'm struggling to be able to watch this show. It just keeps cutting in and out. That's more of a personal thing. That's nothing to do with the review. But yeah, let me know what you think, if you're enjoying it as much as I am at this point, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.